Do you know
I think
that?
that guy was born with a middle tooth coming out of his gums, and then everything
Yeah.
else was filled in.
This is the Austin Mag Podcast. I'm Austin.
This is Matt.
And this week we watched Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But before we get into that, Matt, what else did you watch this week?
I really just watched one thing.
Okay.
I watched Top Gun, and it's not like I'm even going to actually be watching the sequel. I don't think that I will.
Oh,
But-
wait, you only watched the first one?
I've never seen the first one in my life.
Oh.
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Okay.
I do also, random memory, my grandparents had zero idea of what was appropriate for kids or not. So I remember being like 7 and watching Top Gun and having my grandpa run into the room to fast forward through the racy scene. So I watched it then, but I have zero memory of it. And I watched it. And I think there's a huge nostalgia factor to it. So it's not like I was in love with it. It was kind of an interesting movie. I think it's funny to watch to realize that it was one huge advertisement for the Air Force. And I actually looked at the statistics. The Air Force, guess the percentage the Air Force recruitment went up after that movie.
I want to give it like a solid 400%.
500. Yeah.
Oh, my God, 500 came to my
500%.
mind, and I was like, that's
Yeah.
too high. We'll drop it. Dang it.
And it's interesting because there's always been a lot of jokes made about the homosexual tension going on in that movie, and there's definitely some vibes going. There's some scenes that I'm like, oh, okay, I get what people are always joking about, but I don't think it was quite as bad as people have said over the years. But yeah, it was okay. I think it was fun to just kind of see the type of movie that was a big deal. I think the biggest thing that I got out of it was I felt like, okay, I'm sure that back then these like jet fighting scenes were just filmed and they were like mind-blowing to people. And it makes me actually excited for the sequel to think, wow, we are a lot more capable with filmmaking now. What are these jet scenes going to look like in this new one? And the reviews are actually very solid so far. So
Yeah.
I don't think this is anything I'm going to like run to the movie theater and see, but I'm probably going to see this and I'll probably enjoy Top Gun too. So
I think it's fair to say. One thing I was going to add in is that they, much like the first one, a lot of it, well, pretty much all of it is practical effects. And they didn't want to come into the second one and just do a whole bunch of CGI for it. So pretty much like the people who are like the actors for it are flying and like doing all those things, which is
Nice.
bananas to think
Yeah.
about. Like that's a lot of training. Like people dedicate their lives for that. So
yeah.
Honestly, like as what you're saying, like I don't get the big deal of Top Gun. Yes, I saw Top Gun as well when I was a young kid, but it was like, okay, it's Top Gun, it's jets, that's cool.
Tom Cruise looks like a little boy.
He does. I think he still has his middle tooth in that one. I could be wrong on that though. Do you know
I think that guy was born with a middle tooth coming out of his gums. And then
Yeah.
everything else was filled in.
Yeah. Well, cool. So I did watch a couple things. Real quick though, is have you heard about or seen The Bad Guys?
Yeah, I talked about it on a podcast I think a week or two ago. I saw it with my kids.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So it came on to Prime. I think I want to say like over this weekend, and we actually bought it. So my wife, she took my daughter to it on Wednesday, and I was supposed to take my son to it later in the day. However, the movie theater was packed. My son's always kind of like an anomaly for the theater, and it's like that's gonna be too many people, so we passed on it. But we bought it because my wife was like, I like the movie a lot, so I watched it today, and I think it's great. It's like a introduction to the Ocean's movies, and that's fun to me. Now obviously they have to have like their kid parts of it where it's like these guys can't be cool and be bad guys, like they gotta like switch sides, so there's that element to it, but like it was still fun. I love the storytelling behind it. Voice acting did absolutely great for it, so it's one of my favorite animated movies so far this year. I'll say that.
Yeah, the animation looks fantastic. They really take like that into the Spider-Verse animation to like the next level of looking really a lot more like an animated cartoon. But
Yeah.
some of the like action scenes in it, when the Scarlet Paw showed up for the first time, I was super genuinely into that. Where I was like, this looks awesome. And there's a scene where she's on a motorcycle and she like drives under a truck, and it was just so fun and so cool. Yeah, really genuinely enjoyed the action in that movie. So
They did a good job for it. So The Bad Guys, definitely a good recommendation. Now obviously like it is still a kids movie, so you can't expect like full on Into the Spider-Verse for it, but yeah, good. The other thing I watched was I got to the entire collection of Castlevania from Netflix. Have you
never
watched any of
it
them?
before?
No. Here
Wow.
is my dilemma. The animation for it, I am not a fan of. There's
I think it looks
times
fantastic.
where it does like this, like it's 2D, but also like it's 3D at times, and like people
I
are
do hate
like
that.
very 3D. Just like pick a style, or like if you're gonna do something, do it very well, because sometimes it looks really bad. However, the action scenes that they do, like anytime like Trevor Belmont is like doing like his thing, or like Sylphie, I think is her name, is like doing like all her magic, those are like awesome, super well done. It's when like they're just walking and talking and doing those things that it's like, ugh, like get to something real quick, this is so damn boring. So overall, for I really hope they don't make any more. And I know that's weird to say, but like I like how the ending went, and it makes sense. It's good. Nobody should be upset about where things are at this moment. Like there's closure for things. It's a good story. Leave it at that. Season 2 probably didn't need to happen. Season 2 was kind of boring, but season 3, big fan. Have you seen up to season 3?
I have not. I've seen season 1 and 2. I tried to start 3, and I don't think I was in the right headspace for it, and I never got back to it.
Okay. So in season 3, there's a character called Saint Germain, and he is voiced by, I cannot remember his name. He plays Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Bill Nye.
There we go. I heard the guy's voice, and I was like, there's no way. That can't be him. And then I went and looked up, and I was like, oh, like I don't even need to know that much about this character. Like I love this character already just because of who he's voicing. And for season 3 and season 4, he gets to do a very interesting thing throughout the storytelling. So here's my advice to you. Season 3 is much better than season 2, although it does start a little bit boring. Season 4 it's tough, but it needs to get there, and it's nice. So light at the end of the tunnel for you.
Kind of what you said as well, is that you're happy with the ending. I do know that probably the single most popular Castlevania game, and is also probably considered by a lot of people as one of the greatest video games of all time, is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I guess that's where people are hoping next seasons of Castlevania will go. And I'm kind of on board for that, although I've never played the game. My twin is obsessed with it. It's one of his very favorite games of all time. So I see the need for more seasons for that to happen for fans, but I see where you are. I also really liked the 3rd season. I'm kind of surprised that you didn't like the 3rd season that much.
The second one?
Oh, wait. I think I've only watched seasons 1 and 2, so I've skipped out on 3 and 4. Season 2,
Season 2 snuck up on me, I'll be honest. Like, season 1, I did not know it was only 4 episodes. So
yeah,
when I was going through and I was like, what do you mean I'm on like episode 8 of season 2? Like, I feel like I haven't even watched that much. And I was like, oh, okay. Like season 1, that was a great short story. Season 2, I don't like politics, and that's a big thing for me. So like there's a lot of like politics stuffs, and like I didn't care about like the vampire court or like really any of that. Like I just want to know like what we were doing to like fix things and solve things. Like there like Trevor's story in season 2, I loved, thought that was great. Anything vampire-y was stupid. However, Isaac and Hector were like positives of like the vampire court stuff. So
yes, yeah,
that's where I was at. I spoke way too much about this, more than I wanted to, but it's okay. We went through it. Ready to go into Doctor Strange real quick?
Let's do it.
Heck yeah. I'm going to use a synopsis that's been conveniently provided by IMDb. So Dr. Stephen Strange casts a forbidden spell that opens the doorway to the multiverse, including alternate versions of himself, whose threat to humanity is too great for the combined forces of Strange, Wong, and Wanda Maximoff. Now, that is very much not telling of what is going on in this movie, but it's okay. Matt, I'm curious, what'd you like about this movie?
I'm gonna be like upfront too, though. I wasn't like totally in love with this movie. I did have fun with this movie though. I do think getting to see, I mean, this was shocking as well, but seeing Raimi Sam Raimi, the guy who directed the movie, go
Yeah.
like full Raimi, I am number one surprised that like Marvel even let him do that in the first place. There was stuff happening where I was like, oh yeah, that's like classic Sam Raimi. I can't believe of all the things for Marvel to take a big risk on, I'm surprised this is what they're letting him do, you know? I'm assuming, of course you know Sam Raimi from Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. Have you seen Evil Dead 1, 2, or Army of Darkness?
Yeah. So those, and then also like that inspired Ash versus Evil Dead as well, which I've also seen.
Yes. Yes. So getting to see the really Raimi stuff was like really shocking almost. It almost felt like letting Tim Burton direct a Marvel movie and having Johnny Depp be the pale-faced hero of the movie. Like it just felt it felt so trademark of Sam Raimi, and I'm not sure that we've experienced a lot of like trademark filmmaker stuff from Marvel. It's always kind of had that same flavor, I guess. So to see that happen was really, really interesting. Not necessarily like amazing and enjoyable, and I loved it, but like it was cool. And being someone who saw Evil Dead back in the day, to suddenly see like undead Doctor Strange, it was just crazy. So that made a lot of sense. That was kind of fun. Also, just one part that like really I enjoyed was not really that Xavier showed up, but the fact that we got the 90s cartoon theme song playing in the background as he came up, I was like, okay, I am on board with that. Also, let's just talk for 1 second about Xavier's hover chair.
Yeah.
Like or dislike?
So that is like the comic book design behind it. And
But
the
did
fact
it look a little weird to you?
No, like that is what like the old cartoon has. Like it looks weird like that. It gets big like that. And it hovers and it does those things. Like that right there was like, we are going to go as accurate as we can from the comic book for this, and we're just going to be okay with it.
It looked good for the most part, but there was a part where they looked straight at Xavier and he was sitting in the hole of it, and it almost looked like it was up to his armpits. Like I just felt like in the area where he actually like was inside of it, it just looked awkward. I don't know.
He doesn't fill it as well as as the comic. I will say that. Yeah,
exactly. So that the fact that they really went as far to like give 90s kids that theme, I was like, good for you guys. Like what a great little just kind of fun throw in for that. I that made me really happy to see. I also really enjoyed, I think this opened up the multiverse in a way that worked more for me. I thought in Loki at the ending, really the biggest feeling that you get of there being a multiverse is kind of like these pathways in the timeline you see in the background, and that's kind of it. And then we kind of see the same thing. I mean, obviously, No Way Home, Spider-Man opened up a multiverse, but it still felt very self-contained because it was like, here's two other characters from universes we've seen. It felt so much smaller. This opened up the universe, the multiverse, in a way that was like, okay, here's this person who she has the ability to travel through multiverses, and then we're able to kind of see these interesting different places. That scene in particular where Doctor Strange and America were flying through all these different places as they went, I was like, this is fun. And that didn't even feel very Raimi. It just kind of felt unique and fun and interesting. And when they all became paint and all the different things, I was like, okay, cool. That, like, I can get into this. Those were probably my favorite parts of the movie, where it was like, oh, okay, like I'm seeing some interesting stuff going on here with a multiverse that gives me maybe a better grasp on what things are going to be like in the near future for Marvel and the way they explore this. Yeah. So that's kind of, those are my thoughts on it, at least. Austin, what did you like about it?
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the colliding into different universes. As that was happening, I was like, oh my God, everything everywhere all at once. Like right here is what's going on. Like if they end up in like a sausage finger universe, like that would be fantastic.
That would have been a great like throwaway gag. And let me ask you, I'm going to stop you real quick there. Who do you think did the multiverse better? Everything Everywhere All at Once or Doctor Strange 2?
Well, definitely, I would say Everything Everywhere All at Once, just because they're not bound by so many rules.
That's true.
Like they went in, they're like, we can do everything that we want here and anything that we want here all at once. Just kidding. But it was like they don't have to worry about like ruining other movies or other ideas, or like nerds coming through from comic books being like, that's not actually how that works. Not to call people nerds, but like I feel like when people get upset about this type of stuff, it's like you just need to understand this is for a medium that's not a comic book, and not everything's going to come through. And that's probably my inner DC coming through as well. And it's like, it's not going to portray 100%. You got to stop. But it's, you've kind of mentioned it where it's like, this is very Raimi. Like so far, has there been zombies in a Marvel movie? No, they did experience it a little bit in What If, which was pretty interesting. Did you watch What If before watching this movie by chance?
I have not seen What If, so okay. I'm sure there was some stuff that was lost on me a little bit.
Yeah. So I also did not watch What If all the way through. I saw something real quick that's like, you should watch episode 1 and episode 4, and I was like, oh, cool. Episode 1, it just explains Captain Carter and like how that came to be. And episode 4 is just like, what if Doctor Strange like became evil, pretty much. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this gives me some grounds, I guess. But it's very Raimi. Like we have zombies, there's ghouls and things like that. The jump scares that were going on as well. There's one that like got me really bad in the theater when like Wanda's like lighting the torches and all of a sudden like there's a giant monster there. Like, yeah, I jumped a little bit on that part, I'm not gonna lie to you. But there was one thing that I really love that they did in this movie, and I don't know like whose idea it was, but it worked out so well. You watched all of WandaVision, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so at the end of WandaVision, there's her where she's like in like the lodge and she's doing like her weird like sorcery thing, and then you hear her kids say, "Mom, help us." That same audio clip is the audio clip from the kids as they are hiding behind the stairs and they're saying, "Mom, help us." And I was like, holy crap, like I don't know how that happened, but like she heard something that's pretty much that causes her rise to action, that is actually a consequence of herself from doing this. And I was like, that is crazy. I don't know if that's Sam Raimi, I don't know who that is, but kudos to them, because that is a great tie-in. But what I mean by like Raimi is just that it's like there's just spooky stuff going on. Bruce Campbell, I got a big smile on my face when he popped up. My wife also recognized him, and she usually like never recognizes anybody from like other movies, so that was real great. And like we were talking about it later on, where it's like, yeah, did you notice that it was like his like left arm that was like beating him up the entire time, which is like the arm that it cuts off and like Evil Dead, like that was like straight, like I guess whatever you want to say, like homage to Ash. So
I did not catch that, so that was good of you.
Yeah, so that was really fun. Enjoy that piece. And then I know we both want to talk about this, but that music fight though, I honestly was like, so whenever we have action and things like that going on, and I know there's some criticisms that's like Sam Raimi can't do action all that well. This scene though, I felt like it was really well done. But tell me real quick, like, what are some of your favorite parts about that scene?
I did want to talk about this. So you kind of mentioned Sam Raimi can't direct fight scenes. It's interesting you say that too, because some of the action in like Spider-Man 2, still in my mind, I consider to be some of like the best action that I've ever seen in my life. At least the first one when I saw it, the way I lost my mind in Spider-Man 2. But that music fight scene, I loved it because as it started, I was like, whatever. And then halfway through it, I was like, wait a second, stop. This is working, and I'm super. It was my favorite part of the whole movie, because I do think there were these action scenes in this movie that felt very underwhelming. There was a fight scene between, you're gonna have to forgive me because I forgot the character's name, but Doctor Strange and Chiwetel Ejiofor. What's his name again? Gamor? what was his name? He was the sorcerer supreme of the
Oh,
universe that he went into. What's his name again?
I don't remember his name.
That
It's
guy.
fine. Yeah.
And they're down kind of in this little like hallway, and they're kind of fighting each other. And I could see what Sam Raimi was trying to get at, and he was not executing correctly, in my opinion. And so there was just moments in here where they were trying to do some cool things action wise, and it was just falling super flat for me. So here came this other action scene that was falling flat for me, and then I was like, okay, wait, this is super working. This is super cool. I don't think I've seen a Marvel movie try this unique of an action scene, and it just worked super duper well for me. So I actually really loved that music fight scene. So
Yeah. Same thing here, where it was like there was a couple notes that popped up, and I was like, oh, that's different magic. Real quick, magic. Some of the magic that Doctor Strange uses in this movie is completely different than how we've seen him use magic in like the previous movies. Like when he summons that like one creature that just like eats something and then like falls back into a portal, it was like, where did that come from? Because before, like we've used portals to like cut things in half and like disappear things, but like never bring something forward and have it eat something. So like really quick to set the center was like, oh yeah, there's gonna be some weird things that happen in this movie. So when the music came, it's like, oh yeah, like here's like another piece, like they can manipulate that, and then it just goes into like a full-on orchestra fight that is just, it was great. It was masterful. The last thing that I'm going to mention for my likes that I was really entertaining wise is that they really did make Scarlet Witch terrifying. Like some of those scenes or some of those things where like she's coming from like the reflections and like taking people, and like just like when she came out of the gong, I think it was the gong where she like went all like grudge like on it. I was like, eee, like this is a bit much, and like we've never seen this from like this actress or this character before. So to your point before, there's a lot of things that are different about this movie, and that's probably why I like it a little bit more than some of those. I know you're going to mention Marvel fatigue, but this felt like it was a different strain of Marvel that kept me intrigued and interested throughout the movie. Now there's some pieces they didn't execute on so well, but for me, that was a great movie. But tell me, Matt, what are things that you didn't like?
Before I get into that, let me ask you, so how did you feel about the Wanda situation here? Because I guess there's been a lot of backlash. So people are hating this. Were you as bothered by it as other people?
So Wanda, for me, like I'm a big fan. Well, I was a big fan of Wanda, and WandaVision, it still holds as probably like one of my favorite miniseries that they've done so far. And like they really, I guess, they introduced the character. Now the actress, I forgot her last name or her first name, but she has done there we go, Elizabeth Olsen. She has done a great job of like really making herself sound like a very caring person and like carrying like that mom persona. When she was going crazy, I wasn't getting any of that, and I think that was on purpose because like she wasn't herself. When we got to that ending piece where like she realized that like all of this is being caused and that she's the cause of like the loss of this, we got a little bit more of like what we had before, where she wasn't Scarlet Witch at that point. It was, we're back to Wanda. So if people are upset about it, it's sorry. Like this is who her character was, and this is how it is. Now, do I think we're gonna see her again? I do. I really do. I don't think she's dead or any means, or anything like that. But like,
Scarlet Witch, you don't think she died in that? In the end,
I don't. That's the thing about Scarlet Witch, is that they have some interesting stories around her where like she goes away and she comes back, she goes away and she comes back. So I'm not too concerned about it. Now we have the whole multiverse going on right now, where like there could be a Scarlet Witch that comes from somewhere else. So
that's my assumption, is that Scarlet Witch in that form, in her crazy vilified form, definitely 100% died and allowed herself to die there. But that other Scarlet Witch, who she kind of attacked at that point, that is our doorway to a Scarlet Witch who, number one, has those two kids that became a really important part of the whole Marvel universe anyway, but also can still be be WandaVision, or excuse me, she could be Scarlet Witch in the form that we all know and love her and prefer her. So like, I think this twist really did work, and then we're still gonna have access to Scarlet Witch in a way that really works, and she'll kind of be, I mean, really, it'll be just as easy as forgetting that any of this ever happened with this new Scarlet Witch coming along, and it probably helps a lot with writing of future movies too, because they're planning stuff out. I'm sure they have plans for WandaVision that whether she was the evil bad guy in this or not, or whether she was, it doesn't even matter, because she can exist in the exact same way in future movies anyway. So it didn't really bother me. I thought it was a fun twist to have.
I will say real quick, the fact that it's like we finally got Reed Richards out of this, Mr. Fantastic, and I was like, nice. And then he just gets unraveled, and I was like, suck.
Yeah, and it happened quick. So and I'll actually move into that with my dislikes. I was very happy to see John Krasinski show up as Reed Richards, right? But still, all of those like cameos just kind of fell flat for me a little bit. They just felt gimmicky, I guess. Because a lot of the rumored leaks of information here was that Tom Cruise was going to show up as this like kind of evil-ish version of Iron Man. I was super on board with that. I was excited to see that. I was sure, because I had heard about it the same way I heard about some of the leaks from the Spider-Man No Way Home set. I was sure that was definitely going to happen. I was 100% sure I was going to be seeing Tom Cruise in this, and he did not show up.
So you mean that somebody else set false expectations for you, and now you're taking it onto the movie?
I am not taking out on the movie. I'm just saying that that's something I was on board for that didn't happen. It's not the movie's fault. But I did... Okay, whatever, Austin.
Okay.
You give me that look.
Just keep going.
Fly grin. I do think that they just kind of fell a little bit flat. Like, and maybe there was some dude in the theater losing his ever-loving mind over these reveals. And I almost felt like, oh my gosh, dude, calm down. Like, maybe that, like... maybe bugged me and how I felt about it, but seeing Reed Richards show up was exciting, but nothing like mind blowing. I kind of already knew that Xavier was going to be showing up. They gave that away a long time ago, like in a Super Bowl spot. So I knew that.
What?
Yeah, I know.
I was like, no way.
So. Captain Carter showing up was kind of cool. Then there was those two other people who I didn't really know.
There's other Miss Marvel who, instead of it being Brie Larson, it was her best friend. So
yeah, that's what I was guessing. And Black Bolt, who had one of the most like bothersome deaths in any movie I've ever seen. Like when his head just kind of like imploded, I was like, oh, that's gross. So I guess I just didn't think, if they really truly lead to something meaningful, I'm on board. Like, if John Krasinski is coming back as Reed Richards for sure in this upcoming Fantastic Four movie, great. What a fun way to like introduce him as Reed Richards. Did I get to see him stretch or do anything kind of cool? No, not even. I mean, okay, a teeny little bit, but not much. So that I don't know. I didn't know how to feel about that. We'll kind of see if Marvel really finds a way to start doing some interesting things with the multiverse. It's gonna work for me in the long run. But right now, it just felt. I don't know. It felt lazy almost. And I would also willing to bet that like this was something that Sam Raimi kind of had to do, where Marvel was like, you're definitely going to have this kind of a scene. You're definitely going to have these people in it. Now figure it out, or that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, and as I mentioned before, I do have a little bit of Marvel fatigue. I hate telling people that because I think they roll their eyes at me. And it's like, it's really not Marvel's fault. I don't think Marvel's done anything wrong here. I just am personally getting a little bit like, I just don't know. It just doesn't feel as new and exciting and as mind-blowing as it was 10 years ago, you know, so. And I also mentioned this a little bit earlier. There's just some action scenes in here that don't razzle-dazzle, I guess. And it's funny, too, because when I initially had written this dislike, I said, sorry, Sam Raimi, you just can't direct a fight scene. And then I was like, wait a second. Sam Raimi can direct a fight scene. Those first three the first two Spider-Man movies have has some really good action and scenes in it, and maybe that's partially, as I'm thinking about it, like some of those scenes were fully animated. Maybe Sam Raimi wasn't directing them in the way that he usually would, and that's one of the reasons they looked as good as they did. But even then, there's some non-animated moments that do work, that he directed well. So yeah, Sam Raimi has known how to direct action in the past. He's directed good action in the past. There was just nothing here, with the exception of the music fight scene, obviously, that like wowed me in any kind of meaningful way. And I think that's part of my Marvel fatigue, is I have not seen an action scene in a Marvel movie in a while that has really just like excited me. Like the last time I think I remember really getting into like an action scene in Marvel it wasn't too long ago. It was actually Infinity War. The opening scenes in Infinity War where Spider-Man first shows up and Iron Man's doing his thing and Doctor Strange is doing his thing, and a lot of interesting fun things are happening. I was really into that, but that is honestly like the last time that I can remember getting really, really excited about the way they were filming an action scene. And this movie just did not really deliver a lot, again, other than the music fight scene, which was like so fun and weird and interesting. So and I feel bad mentioning those things the way that I do, because it probably sounds like I hated the movie. I didn't hate the movie. I liked the movie. I think it was worth seeing in the movie theater, but it just still was a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah. So. I think that's fair to say. Really, like, my points are just, it's fun, it's different. They have very unique things going on for it. Just some of the things weren't executed on that I wanted them to be. So like, I'm gonna talk about the monsters. Like the monsters in this, I thought they were awesome and they were done really, really well. However, the integration of the actors with the monsters did not go very well in some cases. Now I'm gonna pick on American Chavez here a little bit. Whenever she was tasked with having to do something that involved like action wise or like having to like involve powers, there was just, it felt like there was just a disconnect into it. And I don't know if it was like just young actress or if it was more on the line of like they're just like, all right, cool, that's good. Like they didn't spend enough time on it. Like whenever she had to use her power, it's like it just felt very gimmicky, and I didn't want it to be like that. Now America Chavez, though, I think is a super dope character, and I was actually this is stupid and it's bad to like think of it as like a dislike, but I really wanted there to be an end credit scene where Doctor Strange like bumped into her mom's just somewhere there. I would be like, oh, that's so great. Like they're out there somewhere. Like they threw it out there, but like they didn't like give us any like reel to like pull it back in a little bit or like any glimpse. So, you know.
And yeah, and I think along those lines too, like there was never a real emotional core given to this movie. It was just kind of like, hey, here's America, care about her. Okay, move on. Like I almost was like, if I were to direct this movie, you know, because I'm this award-winning, super smart director who knows how to do things.
Yeah, man,
if I were to be making this, oh, I wish. No, if I was going to direct this movie, I would have opened with America Chavez alone doing her own thing, where we could really learn, because we've gotten to know Doctor Strange from previous movies. We've gotten to know Scarlet Witch. Give us 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes of just like, hey, like, who's this cool chick that's like hanging out in the universe, kind of finding her way around before an alien shows up and evil Doctor Strange, or not so nice Doctor Strange, comes and tries to save her. You know, like it felt almost lazy, where it's like, hey, like, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, like, movies need to learn to just like slow down and be a little patient. And it's like, if you had just given us 10 minutes with this person and give us a save the cat moment, like give us a moment to be like, oh, she's cool and I like her, and whatever's going on with her from here on out, I'm worried about her. And there was just none of that. It was kind of like, hey, here she is running away. Oh, mean Doctor Strange, like he's gonna try and take her powers from her. Oh, she ends up somewhere else. Like it just, and then they try to make us care, where it's like, oh, look at her moms. Oh, they got taken away. Oh, that's so sad. Like, move on again. It's like, stop for like 2 seconds and give us something a little more emotional, a little more real with this character. then maybe I'll care about what's going on for the rest of the movie. I don't know. That's so mean.
Did you
I shouldn't be
care?
so like. I shouldn't be so like mean and complaining.
No, I think it's fine. The whole, I guess, tie-in between Doctor Strange and Christine, I didn't really care about. Like,
Yeah,
it was
it's like we kind of left her like 2 movies ago. Like, I'm not sure anybody cared about her since the very first movie, which came out how many years ago? Yeah, it seemed a little, yeah.
But if it was like, had there just been a little bit more tie-in, and like at this part, like the whole thing with Christine is that it was like, oh yeah, like they were lovers, and like Doctor Strange needs to learn how to love again. But then at the end of it, it was like Doctor Strange is gonna make like a really cool uncle. It's like this is totally different, like 2 different things. Okay, but with that though, I'm not too bothered by it. I feel like in each Doctor Strange movie, they've done a great job of like having him take on a new element of things. And this is my personal opinion, but in No Way Home, I don't think they gave Doctor Strange like a really good beat. Or like he just seemed angry the whole time, as he was trying to like be like a helpful person. Whereas in this time, like, yes, we got him to see him smile, and like I love when it's Doctor Strange and Wong and they're doing things and like working through all that stuff. So that was fine to me. I didn't care about Christine. That didn't need to go anywhere. America Chavez, cool character, great idea. She'll probably be in like a Young Avengers type thing. So I'm excited to see how they take on her next.